whose unique blend of formal monastic training and real-life experience help individuals of all ages find purpose and independence. From weekly courses and international retreats to workshops, podcast, and a robust online presence, Acharya Vivek's message of introspection and resilience resonate across the globe. He has authored 2 books and leads the widely appreciated Delhi sessions called Meaningful Mornings, where he distills ancient wisdom into practical advice for modern living. As the spiritual guide of Chinmaya Mission, Niagara Falls in Canada, he skillfully bridges traditional Vedantic teaching with everyday life. Acharya Vivek's dynamism extends further. He has founded centers in London, Cleveland, and supports Chinmaya Mission's efforts in Albany and Pittsburgh. His compassionate leadership, unwavering commitment, and uplifting message continue to inspire countless students and seekers worldwide, exemplifying the transformative power of introspection and dedicated spiritual practices. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together to welcome Acharya Vivek. We are honored to present Acharya Vivek Gupta.
Thank you, Vibhuti-ji, Shankar-ji, Banu-ji, and Shweta-ji. Since I have a little bit of extra time, I'm going to share with you. In a typical workshop, there's 3 types of listeners. So as I share this, you have to analyze which type of listener you are. Number 1 is a Shrota, one who actively listens. Number 2 is a Sarota. A Sarota one is one who actively doubts. Everything that's being said, I don't believe that. Prove that to me. And number 3 is a Sota. The one who actively sleeps. So, you have been sitting for a full hour. I'm requesting everyone to stand up, stretch, and now sit down so comfortably with a So no more sotas, no more sarotas, only shrotas. When I was growing up, my parents had to work a lot because they were new immigrants to Canada. And so they sent my sisters and I to the closest school to our home, which happened to be a Catholic school. So for all of my elementary education, I went to a Catholic school. After that, I shifted to a public high school and then transitioned into the business school and business world. After some years of commercial real estate, what I saw around me were people who were pretending to smile. Have you all seen such people who, they're smiling, but there's no bhava, there's no feeling behind that. And I was very afraid that I was going to become a person like that. And I knew I needed to change. So when I was 24 years old, I moved from Canada to India, and I lived as a brahmachari, or a monk, for 25 months. Now, an interesting part about all of this is to be able to study in a residential Vedanta course in Chinmaya Mission, you have to have the permission of your parents. When I hypothesized living as a monk, my father right away said, and he's sitting right here, go. He didn't want me to be at home. He said, get out of here. My mother said no. And I shared with her, you left Bharat to go to Canada for happiness. Why can't I leave Canada to go to India for happiness? She said, that's different. I lived and studied as a monk for 25 months in a very intensive way. We woke up every morning at 4, we practiced silence for 9 hours, we only had 2 meals, etc. And I came back to Canada, to North America, when I was 26. And I'm only highlighting these ages because I'm supposed to speak about among youth. I studied when I was a youth, I started to teach when I was a youth also. What I have seen changing between when I was in high school to the students that are in high school now. So I want you to all visualize. When you were in high school, and now fast forward, let's say one generation. Let's fast forward 30 years. Please shout out, what are some changes you have seen in high school life, in college life, from when you were in high school and college to now? What are some changes? There is no media then.
No money at that time.
No money, right. Some people went to high school 60 years ago, not 30 years ago. No freedom? Yes. Yes, these are good observations. As someone who's worked with youth for now almost 18 years, full-time, the biggest change I've seen is in choice. One generation ago, there was less choice. A generation later, there's much more choice. Where to live, what to study, what to eat, and so on. By show of hands, how many of you agree with me? There's now more choice than ever. 30 years ago, you think there'd be 2 halls. Everyone would be sitting here. Now, if I'm a boring speaker, go over there, hall 2. Next conference, there may be 3 halls. Now, there's a problem with choice. The more choice there is, the more it devolves into comparison. Comparison. When I was sitting there and I was listening to Viveka and Acharya and Chatterjee, there's such a proclivity to start to judge. Why did he say this? I can say things better. So I work really hard when I'm speaking with others, either to learn, and if my mind is too shallow to learn, then to chant. Because the more choice there is, the more comparison there is. Now, when you start to play the comparison game, you fall more. What disease comes from comparison? Competition. Competition. The more you compare, the more you compete. And now, I used to think that in India, the schools were competitive. Now that's spreading around the world. India's become hyper-competitive. America's competitive, Germany's competitive, etc. Now that's not the end. When one doesn't regulate competition, I went from choice to comparison to competition, my final fall, what is that missing element you have seen, maybe in yourself, but certainly this is growing amongst those who are young? The sense of security. More and more and more young people are feeling insecure. How many of you agree? How many of you are ready to admit that you have some sort of insecurity? Good for you for putting your hand up. Some of you are turning around. Yeah, you have an insecurity. You have insecurity. So choice leads to comparison, which leads to competition, which leads to insecurity. So what are we supposed to do about this? We know this is happening. This is not a crisis-focused workshop. It's a solution-based workshop. Step 1 is simple living. When that's checked off, then one can move on to step 2, which is high thinking. What was step 1? Simple living. What's step 2? High thinking. Yesterday I was facilitating a workshop on mental well-being through self-regulation. There was maybe 100 people there when I had started. The majority of people there were younger. And what I had shared was, for someone to get into mental well-being, you have to give them step 1, which is that self-regulation. And so I shared about the yamas. The yamas are don'ts. Don't do this right now. Like satya. Satya means non-compromising. Don't compromise on your ideas. Only if you follow the yamas can you reach the niyamas, which are the do's. Then you can get into asana, physical balance, breath balance. I was very surprised that some of the speakers were talking about dhyana and samadhi. How can you talk about steps 7 and 8 for the ego and spirit when I'm having a tough time with step 1? Simple. So I'm going to share with you a framework, a very magical framework that is not mine, but rather it is Shri Krishna's. One of the best maps in Sanatana Dharma is Srimad Bhagavatam. There's been so much talk about the Bhagavad Gita, but authentically, even before you study the Bhagavad Gita, you are to study Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the preparation for Bhagavad Gita. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the 10th skanda, the 70th chapter is on Shri Krishna's Dinacharya. All those who don't speak Sanskrit, can you translate Dinacharya into English? Routine. Acharya, what Shri Krishna did, Dina, day after day after day, and with such detail, Rishi Vyasa describes that Shri Krishna would wake up at 4. What time did you wake up today? Some of you are still sota. So he engaged in dhyana first, because he was Shri Krishna. Not Viveka, not Vijay, not Kapil, he was Shri Krishna, he could do it. The second part of his day was Dhamma. Dhamma means he engaged in the karma kanda, like rituals. Number 3, and this will cause us some heart palpitations. Every day Shri Krishna engaged in dana. Every day he was charitable. And then finally, the 4th part of his routine was dharma, or his responsibilities. What was number 1? Dhyana. 2? Dhamma. 3? Dana. 4? Dharma. After really studying this map, what I have devised for young people, really all people, it is called the High 5 Challenge. High 5 Challenge. And every one of these challenges relates to early. A very big problem amongst young people and really honest people is procrastination. What is the antidote to procrastination? To be early, to be punctual. Here's number 1. Sleep early. Sleep early. If you sleep early, it will trigger number 2. What will you naturally do if you sleep early? Wake early, exactly. You'll get up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., etc. When you wake up early, for those who do wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., what do you want to do at that time? Watch Netflix. Cook dinner. The 3rd trigger, or what is triggered, is study early. Study Srimad Bhagavatam. Study Bhagavad Gita. After you study early, this will naturally pull the 4th, which is walk early. Walk early. Obesity is real. When we are in nature, we feel more natural. It's good for the body. It's good for the mind. And number 5 is sink, S-Y-N-C, sink early, which really means forgive early. The hardest part of living is with people. Arguments, interpretations, attachments. Forgive early. This is a way to encourage well-being for those who are young. It's so simple. SWSWS. Sleep, wake, study, walk, sing. Once simple living is complete, then one can engage in high thinking. Vicharena vivartate. It is through reflection that one starts to feel free, starts to feel Brahmananda. And so my final thought for all High thinking is when one starts to feel what is in front of them is their dharma. Can you give me an English word for dharma? Responsibility is a good word for dharma. When I start to feel high school, college, my parents, my elders, my country, the environment is my responsibility, I follow through and there's an integrity. Integrity is that inner peace. I start to feel what I am. My master has shared. Purpose pulls, performance. Dharma helps one to pull that peace. Thank you, Hari.